The Flash, issue 8, Legacy 808, Cy Spurrier writing with Ramon Perez and Vasco Georgiev on the art.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, this book's still weird and confusing.
Yep. Yep.
Like, it seemed pretty straightforward, this issue, for, like, most of it, and then the last, like, 5 pages just kind of put it into a whirlwind of, like, wait, what's happening now? Who's this? Who are these people?
Mm-hmm.
So,
It.
yeah, it's all framed around Iris is doing, like, a radio show. She's, like, being
Mm-hmm.
interviewed on a radio thing that's
Uh-huh.
about superheroes, and she's talking about how superheroes are necessary and how they're doing great things, and that this cynical take that they're causing more harm than good is just a bunch of bullshit, basically. And that's what the framing device of the book. And as she's talking, we see Barry and some of the other speedsters like going around saving people. There's like,
Mm-hmm.
and it's basically all stuff that's being caused by like reality starting to kind of break down because of
Mm-hmm.
what's going on with Wally and the other
The
stuff.
Speed Force. Yeah.
Yeah,
They're basically like Speed Force incursions, right? So there's like
yeah.
fires popping up out of nowhere in Nepal, um, and like just this weird flat spots in other cities. And so the Flash family's running around trying to help, including the new guy, Circuit Breaker, which is I think the first time that we really had him in the main book.
Well, he popped up at the end of the last issue, but yeah, this is
Yeah.
yeah. He's not been in
Mhm.
Ethan main in a while.
Yeah.
At all.
The cool thing I did like though is like he being that he's tapped into the Speed Force or the Stealth Force, not the Speed Force, he couldn't see all the other Flashes running around. So as Barry's talking, it seems like he's talking to nobody, but he's directing traffic to the other Flashes. I thought that was a pretty cool perspective.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it was a great two-page spread at one point where you just see all the different lines of like the different color
Mm-hmm.
lines of like the different speedsters moving around. So you got like the pink for Avery, you've got
Mm-hmm.
blue or red for Jesse, and so it like that was fun. Uh, Perhaps more interestingly, we had stuff with Amanda Waller going in and like basically raiding Terrifitech for
Mm-hmm.
stuff. Uh, Meanwhile, we've got Dr. Pilgrim, or Inspector Pilgrim, sorry,
Mm-hmm.
from the future, who again seems to know a lot about where things are in the kitchen.
Yep.
So my theory that that's the new Baby West is still
Yeah.
that's
Might be
still what I
Wade.
think. Yeah,
Well, and he's showing Jay how to do that energy shaping, right? So what we thought was this thing that when he was creating all those little creatures, turns out that's just he's manipulating energy, kind of like how he already was. It's
mm.
just he's being able to focus it like a Green Lantern, which is a
Yeah,
pretty cool. It's a pretty cool different version of the Speed Force than we've seen.
yeah. Uh, so yeah, you get that great page with all different colors, and then
Mm-hmm.
just generally the speedsters sort of helping and save people. Iray ends up calling Barry,
Mm-hmm.
and everyone just seems to think Wally's maybe away on Titan's business, although we know
Yeah.
he's not. In fact, the Titans book even said a note in the last issue saying,
Yeah.
"Oh, he's not here right now because of what's going on in Flash."
Right,
So
but I like to think that the Titans think that he's doing Flash business. The Flash thinks he's doing Titans business, but meanwhile, he's in his Zen garden, just chilling the hell out from everybody. I'm kind of jealous of him.
yeah, well, it doesn't seem like a good thing though. It feels more like
No,
it
it's a
feels
bit
more like
sinister.
it's more like an alcoholic who's returned to the bottle rather than
Well, if you want to make it that dark, or it's somebody that's just ignoring their responsibilities, you know?
yeah. But that's what I'm getting at. It's
Yeah.
like this sort of like this negative thing where he's just like
Hmm.
completely broken down and
Yeah.
isn't there for anyone
Well,
else.
do you feel like that's more sinister? Like that the whole idea of that garden, that Zen garden, and whatever, you think this is part of the Crown of Thawne's part is to take Wally off the board? Or do you think this is something that's completely, you know, not separate because it's part of the same story, but do you think that's as part of because I'm feeling it's more sinister. Like they have him off the board knowing like what he means to the Flash family. Like he's kind of the pardon the pun here, the keystone
Hmm.
of it, and that without Wally, it's easier for the Crown of Thorns, to put their stuff into play, right? Because as we see, Barry's still getting attacked by them, all right, mentally, and so he's not working at 100%. So there's a lot of balls in the air here. Spurrier has a lot of things going on.
Yeah. So I raised Colin Barry though to basically say that she's like tracking like Barry and the other speedsters going around, and they keep like the paths keep crossing in the same locations. It's almost like you're about to be ambushed, and of
Yep.
course, sure enough, we get these like characters in these outfits. I actually almost thought it was more characters like Inspector Pilgrim for a second because of the white heads, but I don't think it is. They look kind of different to me, at least at a distance.
Well, no, because they say it's a chrono hemorrhage. Deploy a widow to stitch the rift. So it feels like they're coming from another dimension that he's from, and they're trying to take matters. They're almost like the time police.
But is he? Are they wearing the same outfits? Because they didn't know what they are to me.
They're very similar because they're both wearing the tall, round hats. And we know that they think of the Flash as problems because of that's why Pilgrim's kind of going off and trying to help in his own way. At least that's how I'm interpreting it all.
It's just because the like sorry, I keep saying Doctor. Inspector Pilgrim has more of like just a coat and then like a hat. Whereas these guys, it looks like there's a lot more to their outfits. But again, they're very small in the panel, admittedly.
Well, it could be like they're the SWAT team and he's the detective, right? Like, they're going to be geared up for different things.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Because they end up they end up getting smushed by 2D Man, right? So, they're not on the same side. They're almost collateral here.
Yeah, you got to do... This is where it all just completely falls into like chaos. So basically this team of villains that were approached before to stand against the Flash are here. You got Mirror Master and some of the others. Grodd obviously is the one sort of messing with Barry's head with his fancy helmet and all that. And basically holds Barry kind of in, I don't want to say a trance per se, but like he's kind of like just, I don't even know. What is he doing to him?
Well, it's a psychic attack. He's holding him like, he's overwhelming his senses, with his telepathy.
Telepathy, yes.
Yes.
The telepathy.
Telepathy.
Telepathy, yeah. That's not the word.
It's one of those fun words. The more you say it, the less it means, and then you start to think you're saying it wrong.
Telepathy.
So
telepathy.
His brain, it's a psychic attack. It's a psychic powers.
Yeah. I mean, I get that he's a psychic attack. It just, I was a little unclear exactly like what he was doing. But part of this is there's so much goddamn things going on here. It's kind of nuts. The big thing that happens though outside of the crazy speedster stuff, where he's getting attacked by the villains, which have been put together by Thawne, right? That was the whole thing to set up. Is that Amanda Waller calls into the radio show and asks a question under the name Mandy. But then she shows up at the station and says they're shutting this thing down. She puts a message out over the air, and she says they're shutting it down because they're being charged with spreading or aiding like domestic terrorism. And they're like, what the hell are you talking about? And she's like, hey, we've discovered things at Terrifitech that speedsters, when they use their powers, are actually causing all these weird like anomalies that are happening. They're every time they use their powers, they're taking something from the planet and from like existence, and it's going to ruin everything. And then the phone call specifically, she compared it to cowboys, right, or like miners, and like, oh, they just thought, oh, we'll just go for the gold, or we'll go for the oil. It was the black gold, the oil. And basically didn't think about anything at all in the fact that this is going to make them a bunch of money. And then fast forward 100 or so years later, and we've got climate problems because everyone's been using oil and burning fossil fuels and whatever else. So it's like, that's kind of what the speedsters have been doing with the Speed Force, is they've been tapping into something they don't really understand, and it's having an effect. Now, obviously, I expect we're still going to have a flashback after this run, so I suppose we're going to learn that it's not quite true, and that it's actually Thawne that's up to something, or it's these other beings that we've been introduced to that are causing all this.
The stillness, or the archangels, or,
Yeah. So at one point in this book, they mentioned the archangels, or sorry, the archangels, not angels, the archangels. And I went, oh yeah, they're a thing. I forgot about that name. Because I saw I did a double take, like they made a typo, and I'm like, oh no, it was them. I remember this now. Yeah, I mean, honestly, the more this goes, this book is getting harder and harder to like keep track of and like remember all the things they've introduced, and So I do think it's a bit messy. There's definitely some interesting ideas in here for sure.
Yeah, I really love what Waller says though about that. About you found this natural resource, and then we exploited it to the point, right? But it's not just the miners, right? It was the fact that the oil companies came along, and then they started pushing stuff, and
Yeah.
so it's not just as simple as, oh, they found oil, they exploited it. It was certain interests of doing it. But the way that she's able to, she accuses them of spreading propaganda, but that's exactly what Amanda Waller is.
I do appreciate in the
expert in.
art that Waller has a shit-eating grin on her face
Yep.
as she gets to tell Iris speedsters are the ones causing all this. They're the worst of all the superheroes because they're actually damaging reality itself.
Yep.
I like that because she thinks she's got such a smoking gun, and it's just like the happiness on her face is just evil, basically.
Yeah. Well, then I like too that this naturally just plays into what absolute power is going to be, right? From what we know from the solicits.
Yeah, that's true.
But it feels natural in the story, right? Because, of course, if Terrific had found out that the speedsters are killing reality, Waller's going to find out sooner than later, right? She has her hand in everything. So,
the end of the issue, Barry's still kind of frozen on his knees from the psychic attack, and he's like, Wally, where are you? We need you. And we just get one panel of Wally in the Zen garden, and it looks like Bart has been turned to stone by Misty Lady, whatever her name was, I forget.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, a lot of weird... It's a weird book, it definitely is. Like some issues I do find things to like in it quite a bit, and then there's other issues that just feel like a bit more like a really weird and hard time to read. This was like straightforward enough, but goddamn that last, like as soon as the villains showed up and all hell started breaking loose, it felt like I'm like, okay, there's like a lot going on again, and I need to try and keep track of all this.
It starts to get almost impenetrable. Because there's so much going on, and like you have those, I'll call them time cops getting folded into 2D, and you're like, okay, well, they're not stopping the incursion. Like, what is going on here? And then
this is one of these books where it feels like you're supposed to reread every previous issue every single month before the new one, just so you can actually follow.
Yeah, that's I don't have that kind of time, friend.
No,
so that's However, like you said, like it is straightforward enough. That said, I thought Iris's voice was a little bit off. The whole they're trying to make her as what they call her, the corn belt Lois Lane, and whatnot.
I did like her little dig at Lois though. She sort of she makes a little crack about how Lois Lane, like falls out of a building like numerous times and calls it a scoop. I thought it was like a little dig. It was like, of course she gets all the scoops. She's tied to Superman.
Yeah, they're a little bit different, but it's just her voice being a little bit off. But I mean, it's not too distracting. Than what I'm used to. So it fit the story at least. It wasn't distracting once you got used to it.
Yeah, I will say, as much as I do think the art is solid enough, and there's some nice pages. We talked about the page with all the different colored speedsters running around. Of course, the Waller like expressions towards the end. Generally speaking, the art's pretty solid. I still miss the art from before, because the first 6 issues or whatever had
Diodato.
Yeah, that very consistent art style that just had a really cool vibe, and it felt like it was like half the book for me. It really was. Whereas now with it's missing, it feels like the book's identity feels a little bit off.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we'll see. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't really have much to add. No.
I think we covered it pretty well for being hit over the head with side stuff. I think we were able to form it together, like Jay forming those little energy constructs.
I will say this: when when Peacemaker's leading like the SWAT team or whatever into Terrific to like raid it, and Terrific's not there because he's on Justice Society business. Both Waller and Mr. Terrific are like on a call, and they're both like holograms inside the lobby of Terrific. And I thought to myself, why would the 2 holograms be like appearing in front of everyone else? Like, wouldn't they just be calling like? Wouldn't there just be one hologram for Terrific of Amanda Waller in front of him and vice versa? Why would there be 2 holograms for an audience inside the building? I don't know. The logic of that was like, this is just for the visual of the comic book. It doesn't make any sense why this would how the call would work.
Yeah, I guess. It is kind of funny though, seeing that his are the terrific spheres, but Peacemaker's holding up the hologram, right? And so it just seems like they're there just so Mr. Terrific and Waller can argue, right? Which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. But anywho, what are you rating the Flash issue 8?
I'll give it a 7.5.
Yeah, I think I have to go a bit lower because I definitely felt by the end that like, so I'm struggling at times to kind of keep all the different threads like aligned in my head here. So I'm going to go with a 6.5 for me on this one.